I love this sort of muted light. And it's also very often when it's muted light like this means a little bit colder and there's not as many people on the beach, but it is New Year's Eve. And so there's a lot of folks out here getting in their last surf of 2017. I'm still thinking about surfing. In yesterday's episode, I talked a little bit about how I feel about the relationship of surfing to Tai Chi, and I'm still thinking about that. Yesterday's question of the day that weaved itself into the lesson was about what do you do after you've learned a whole bunch of forms? Like, how do you practice? And I talked a little bit about the three modes of Tai Chi play: the learning mode, the practice mode, and the play mode, the observation mode, the watching mode, the performing mode. Anyway, the let it go mode, put it that way. Today, I want to talk about another aspect of what do you do once you've learned your forms? What's the stuff of the things that you do when you go out to practice? And so the answer for part 2 is to focus on not the what of Tai Chi, but the why. It has to do with what we call the principle. At the end of the day, we say that the Tai Chi forms, the physical aspect of Tai Chi, is only an excuse to practice the deeper underlying principles of how and why Tai Chi are done. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we do the movement, and we're going to break down the movement of the day, which is called Grasping the Bird's Tail. Hi everybody, it's David-Dorian Ross here out on the beach in beautiful California. It is New Year's Eve, and if this is your first time to this channel, welcome. Today is day number 76 of 100 Days of Tai Chi, the video series in which I am teaching you the traditional Yang family long form 103 movements. Today's movement is called Grasping the Bird's Tail. It is a movement that we've done before, so right up there is a link to a couple of other times when we have done this movement in the series. You should go check that out. If this is your first time to this channel, welcome. Welcome to the beach version of Learn Tai Chi at home. And if you're a beginner and you want to learn Tai Chi at home, maybe for a bunch of reasons, like you want to improve your health, or you want to live longer but feel younger, if you want to find some inner peace and tranquility and harmony, or defend yourself against attackers, because Tai Chi does have this aspect of being a martial art, a self-defense art, then you have come to the right place. You're on the right channel, and all you've got to do to get started learning with me is hit the subscribe button, because I got a whole lot of lessons I want to share with you. And so, you know what? Let's just jump right in. Now the movement here is grasping the bird's tail. Let me just go through, I'll run through one time and then we'll break it down. Right? We're ending at the end of Ban Lan Chui, or reflect downward parry and punch. Beautiful. So now let's walk through it in learning mode. I'm going to split up the learning mode into 3 parts. Let's look at the footwork first. Right? I have just finished up the previous movement in a bow step and a Tai Chi lunge with the left foot forward. So the first thing I'm going to do is sit back and then pivot that left toe out 45 degrees. Then from here, the right foot is going to come forward, establishing, as I always say, channel width, so that it has to step a little bit out to the side to establish that channel width. Right? Now from this bow step, I don't actually step anymore. I'm just shifting the weight back and forward. I sit back over the back foot, then forward into the bow step again, then back over the back foot again, no waist turn the second time, just straight back, and then forward again into the lunge again. And that's the footwork. So it's very simple. From one bow step, sit back, turn that foot out, step forward, creating a channel width, second bow step, sit back, forward, sit back, forward. All right, now let's take a look at what the hands are doing. The hands start off at the end of the punch, so we have the left hand in sort of a fingertips pointing up position, the right fist, the hammer coming right past that palm. In the final position of deflect downward parry and punch, the fingertips, the top part of the fingers here are right about at the forearm, and midway between the elbow and the wrist here, touching the punching hand. Right? Now, as I begin my step, the left hand departs, rounding out, warding off, and arcing out to the side. Right? Arcing out to the side, right? As I make my first step here. Meanwhile, the right hand releases the fist and scoops under. So it's coming from the fist here and scooping into just above the hips. Right? Then the right hand, as I take my step, rises up. Right? It's just sort of like lifting the curtain right out in front. And this left hand, it was in ward-off position, wrist bends, fingertips coming to the other wrist. Right? So now I've got the curtain rising, these fingers coming forward, and then they just expand forward. From this point here, both hands reach to the corner, fingertips pointing forward, palm to palm, little Tai Chi sandwich. Right? Then they pull downwards, as though they were on either side of somebody else's arm, controlling wrist, controlling forearm, pulling down, and sort of whipping or fishtailing, as I would say, fishtailing back. So this is actually two movements so far. This is the first part of the movement, ward off, then reaching the corner and fishtailing over here. That's the second movement called rolling back. Then I square up and the fingertips come to the inside of the forearm, just below the elbow here, and everything moves forward. This is what we call piercing or squeezing or pressing. Sometimes I don't like that translation, but that's what it's called. Then the hands finally separate apart. This is number 4, which we call push. I get back underneath something, push forward. Those are the 4 parts. That's what the hands do. Now let's look at the waist turn. So the waist is always turning in all these movements, but remember that the waist is limited in its turn. It's not just like turning willy-nilly as much as you want or as little as you want. It's really going on a very controlled axis. Thinking about the midpoint, where you start from, then an angle over here to the corner, 45 degrees. Back to the midpoint, another 45 degrees back to the midpoint. And so when it's traveling for various movements, that's kind of the range of motion that you've got. Here, at the end of deflect downward parry and punch, right? When I sit back, my waist is turning 45 degrees. Right? That's 1 foot forward. When I sit back, my waist is turning 45 degrees. Step up, and now my waist is going to turn 45 degrees back to my original line. Right? From that back to the original line, it turns. This is actually a small turn. It's not a full 45 degrees, just in the corner. But then when it rolls back, guess where it's turning? 45 degrees. Square up. Straight forward, straight back, straight forward. All right, I'm going to do it one more time so you can watch it. Then I'm going to flip the camera so you can do it in mirror view. But first, let me talk about what's next after you learn this movement, after you've learned your form, after you learn a whole form, after you've learned 2 or 3 forms. What are you practicing? Right? What are you doing here? You start thinking about what we call the internal aspect of Tai Chi. The internal aspect of Tai Chi splits itself into 2 parts, and I'm going to talk about part 2 tomorrow. So part 1 today is about the Chi energy moving around your body. And the way that you get your Chi energy moving around, if you go back, and again, I'm going to put a link up here to an episode a couple of lessons ago where I talked about the fact that your Chi is always circulating and moving, but in Tai Chi, we take it to the next level. Now, but how do we do that? How do we take the Tai Chi, or the Chi energy circulation to the next level? It has to do with the underlying principles of Tai Chi. And the first one has to do with get your body in a premium position so the Chi can circulate without any trouble. Like make it easy for the Chi to circulate. So one of the first principles we talk about is the head being sort of like a balloon floating up. I always talk about it as empty, like a balloon is empty, it's just got air inside, but perky, happy, right? And just suspending that head like a balloon, just doing really something perky, right? So from here, My empty balloon into the air. Just floats along, letting my eyes gaze around, see whatever it sees. I got a bunch of principles like this, but here's where it starts. And no matter how many routines you learn, no matter how many forms you learn, once you learn the form, the next step is to come back. And that's why we say that the play mode, right? Mode number 3, where you should spend most of your time, because that is the mode in which you pay attention to principles, not movements. Anyway, that's our lesson for the day. Hope that you had a good time with that. If you had a good time with that, hit the like button. You just go down there, there's a little thumbs up, you hit that button, that's very nice. And if this is your first time here, if you're a beginner, I'm hoping that now you're saying to yourself, you know what, I could do that. I could learn Tai Chi at home, especially with this guy, David-Dorian. He breaks it down. At least I hope I'm doing that well. Also, if this is not your first time here, if you've been following along, in fact, for everybody, I didn't want to separate that out. If you've got a question about Tai Chi, go ahead and write it down in the comment section below, because I'd like to know what your questions are, and I promise to answer them all, either in the comment section or bring them back into the video lesson. It's going to be New Year's Day by the time you see this, so Happy New Year, and I'll see you in tomorrow's lesson.
I will conquer this and bring you home. When this world has stopped and the breeze is served, when the time is right, I'll sing you a song.